Hello and welcome to the Manning Report. I am she, Gold Vestal Esther Butler, sitting in for he, Dr. James David Manning. Today, full news day. This weekend had a lot of things happening, a lot of action happening. We're all going to cover it today. First thing we're going to look at is the Epstein update. So on Friday, I believe, Friday morning, we found out that they've ruled it a suicide, that he, took his own life. You can believe what you want to believe. I'm telling you right now, he was killed. He knew too much. We're going to move on to, we're going to talk about some international politics. We're going to talk about some domestic politics, looking at the bombing that happened in Afghanistan this weekend. We'll be looking at the entire debacle between Representative Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Tribulation Trump. We're going to talk about the 3 mass shootings that could have happened but were stopped. We're going to talk about all of Trump's different, I don't even have a word for it, all of his antics, even though that's too nice of a word. So let's get started. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the deadly blast at a wedding in Afghanistan, killing 63 people. This is coming on the tail end of we're trying to pull troops out. Well, Tribulation Trump and himself is trying to pull troops out of Afghanistan. We've already started the negotiations, even though our State Department is terribly underfunded, but we're not going to go there. Different show. So this happened right on that tail end. This is why this is dangerous. Not just because ISIS has claimed responsibility for it, but because the Tribulation Trump, or as some people call him, President Trump, has no idea how to handle foreign politics or domestic politics. But he has no idea how to handle these situations. Right now, he's probably on Twitter going off about something that has nothing to do with this, blaming ISIS or blaming the Taliban or blaming Hillary Clinton, as he's known to do. So this could start a very, very dangerous, or set a very dangerous precedent for the rest of our foreign policy, for the rest of our foreign issues abroad. And then even jumping into the entire situation, which was absolutely uncalled for and absolutely inappropriate. This past week on Thursday, Representative Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, they decided that they were going to visit Israel. He sends out a tweet on his Twitter fingers saying that, if Israel lets them in, that would be great weakness on their part. Don't let them in. And guess what Israel does? They say that they can't come. I don't think that it's possible for Trump supporters to understand how inappropriate, how dangerous, how completely immature it is for him to bring partisanship into our foreign affairs. Because we don't know, as a result, I don't know why Representative Tlaib was going there. I don't know why Representative Omar was going there. But I'm almost 1,000% sure it was for no political gain, but to make sure that the people of Israel and the people of Palestine understand that they have people working in the United States of America, representatives in Congress, people in the Senate. They need to know, okay, I understand what the president is saying, I understand his stance on this, but this is what we're going to do policy-wise to ensure that everything here doesn't continue to rise in upheaval. Donald Trump, on the other hand, only thinks about himself and his business interest. And that in itself, 1, makes me sick to my stomach, and 2, makes me angry. Because instead of him paying attention to what is happening in America right now, he's put his nose in the business of something that has nothing to do with him in general. Instead of him paying attention to the rise of domestic terrorism in the United States by white supremacists and different members of different far-right groups or different far-left groups. It doesn't matter. He has put out multiple tweets attacking these 2 representatives who are supposed to be working with him. He doesn't understand. It's very insane because he doesn't understand how politics works. He doesn't understand how the branches of government works. And it's also very, very important to point out that he's never had to answer to anyone but Tribulation Trump himself. He's never had a real board of directors. He's never, besides him answering to his father when his father was yet alive, he's always been the king. And he's brought that toxic behavior into America's foreign and domestic policies. And that's an issue for me, for you, because if you think it's not going to affect you down the line, and we're going to talk about the entire economics of what his tariffs are going to do, what his loose words when he's yelling at people or telling China that, they're just thieves, or if he's telling, Mexico that he's going to build the wall, things like that, that affects you Trump supporters, as you may not think it will, but it does. And it's already starting to affect you. It kills me because Tribulation Trump, not only is he narcissistic, put that, but he's a narcissistic idiot, which means that he thinks about himself, but in turn doesn't think about how this implicates himself in general. Let's move on, because I'm starting to feel my blood boil. There would have been, on the tail end of the 2 mass shootings we've had in the past 2 weeks, and even more that we have no idea that are happening that, may have not been covered by the actual mainstream media. There were 3 more mass shootings that could have happened this week, all planned out by, does anybody want to take a wild guess? Yes, 3 JFF men. And it's young. So I really don't want to hear the argument, oh, white supremacy is a thing of the past. It's just their grandfathers that used to do it. These young men coming up now don't believe in it. They don't know anything about it. Because all of these men were pretty much under the age of 50, which means that it's in the millennial blood, which means that hate has been spread from one generation to the next. And all of these were stopped by, all of these were stopped by the public. So one young man said, okay, I want to let off a few rounds in a public place. They have tactical gear. They have different kinds of weapons. And there's no way anyone can convince me that any citizen of the United States of America needs an assault rifle. Doesn't happen, doesn't need to happen. I don't need one, you don't need one. You don't need tactical gear to shoot game. That's all I'm gonna say. But just the idea that instead of Tribulation Trump paying attention to the domestic terrorism that is rising on his watch, because if you look at the statistics of it all, domestic terrorism since Tribulation Trump has been elected and inaugurated, has risen more than 25%. That is more than triple the national rate as it was under President Obama, President Clinton, President Bush, all the way up until Reagan. So we really need to pay attention, or I would say you need to pay attention to the idea that this man stirs up something in people that is not good, is not helpful for the economy or helpful for the country or helpful to turn all of us back to what we would want as the old America. The platform that Joe Biden is running on. Yeah, there's nothing there that returns us to that. It's all hate driven. It's all about killing Mexicans, Latinos, killing African Americans. And all of this is happening under his watch. And he's not paying attention. Or matter of fact, he is paying attention because this is what he wants. This is what he thrives on. He thrives on hate. He thrives on making sure that people understand that the white race, as you would call it, is the best race. And I don't always quit Lyndon B. Johnson, but Lyndon B. Johnson said it best. He said, if you can convince the poorest white man that he is better than the Negro, and now you can add Latino or any person of color, anyone who is other, if you convince the poorest white man that he is better than these people I've just named, you can pick his pockets all day long. And that is the reason why a lot of rural America, in addition to policies driven out by Democrats, Donald Trump is not making it better. You're losing money. All of you farmers who's like, yes, we're voting for Trump so we can get our jobs back. We're voting for Trump so we can get our jobs back. You have no money. You're losing money. You don't have a job. And it's picking your pockets. And you're going to be broke, which is why the economy is going on a slow, not even slow now, because the Dow dropped 800 points just last week alone, based on something that wasn't even actual. It was just a prognostication. So now you're sitting there saying, well, I believe that he'll do this for me, or I'll believe he'll do this for me. And he has kept not one promise. He has done nothing for you. Yes, he's brought back coal jobs in the industry. But guess what? When the coal gets in your lungs and you get sick, guess what you don't have to go to the doctor? Healthcare. See? So the dynamic of Trump supporters and Tribulation Trump in general to me is mind-boggling, because you're giving this man everything and receiving nothing in return, pardon me. Listen. And this may sound like a broken record playing all the time, but if you are not here in the ATLAH Ministries Church, if you're not a part of the elect, you are going to die. You're going to go to hell because you voted for this man who has brought nothing but hell and tribulation and pain and disease. And he's just as degenerate as the people who are voting for him. And just as degenerate as the evangelicals who support him, who say, oh, he's sleeping with people who's not his wife, we can overlook that. Oh, or he's in Russia's back pocket. Republicans are saying, oh, we can overlook that. McConnell, I'm looking at you. Lindsey Graham, I'm looking at you. We really need to, and it's only going to get worse. It is. And it pains me to say that. It does, but it's only going to get worse. But if you all can't realize that this path that you are going down is going to lead you straight to destruction, straight to hell, then I have nothing else to say. Absolutely nothing else to say. Okay, so we're back. Again, I am Esther Butler, sitting in for Dr. James David Manning on the Manning Report today, and we're going to get right back into some more news. An article came across to me on Saturday evening, thereabouts, where I read that Tribulation Trump made it so that union workers only had 3 options as he was going to, give a speech at a Pennsylvania, petrochemical plant. And he told them that they had 3 options. They could either come to the speech, and if they were off, they could use paid time off to come, or they could receive no pay. Now, right now, I'm going to let you listen to a clip, which is going to outline it, and then I'll be back with some remarks.
A stark choice for union workers in Pennsylvania, we're learning, ahead of the president's speech there earlier this week. Show up if you want to get paid or burn one of your days off. And by the way, if you're not there, you're not eligible for overtime. CNN obtaining this memo sent to Shell union workers at the Beaver Creek, Pennsylvania plant ahead of Trump's Tuesday visit. And the memo is written by a contractor for Shell. We're told it reads in part, no yelling, shouting, protesting, or anything viewed as resistance will be tolerated at the event. Those who are not in attendance will not receive overtime pay on Friday. To be clear, Trump and his team did not write this memo. Also, I want to remind you, Trump's speech on Tuesday was billed as an official White House event, not a campaign rally for his re-election bid. But the president did directly mention the Shell plant.
I love the unions and I love the workers. And when I built buildings in New York, I built them exclusively with union. People don't understand that. I was exclusive. This Shell petrochemical plant in Beaver County, Pennsylvania. I did very well here.
Okay, so Tribulation Trump, again, talking about crowd size, of course, because we all know he's impotent. Just gonna put that out there. You could take that one, that's free. So basically he's saying that because Trump knows he's in trouble with unions, unions go on a couple of things. Unions want jobs, unions want health care. Unions, for the most part, because we've ushered in a group of union workers that are female, they want childcare. They want things that are affordable for them so they can continue to work, so that if they get sick, they can go to the doctor, so they can be well. Okay, point taken. Trump is in trouble with the unions because he has a Democratic opponent. He has 2 Democratic opponents who also poll very, very well with unions. And those 2 Democrats is former Vice President Joe Biden and Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City. Trump is in trouble. And when he is in trouble, he panics, and you can see it in every speech that he gives. He needs to reaffirm to himself that he is the best, that he is the greatest, and he needs people to tell him, yes, Trump, we love you. We love you. You're beautiful. You're wonderful. You're the smartest president we've ever had. And guess who also used to need that self-reaffirming? Adolf Hitler. Trump is in a position now where he can be democratically removed from office, whether it's through Nadler and impeachment, or it could be through the voting. Democrats, while they are not my favorite party, but they're fired up and they're ready to go. We have a very, very broad field right now and we have people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Steve Bullock and Bill de Blasio and Joe Biden, who are appealing to these red state voters, which are filled with unions. And it's making him nervous. He is so nervous that he's literally telling people, hey, if you don't he's telling people, tell your workers, if they don't come see me, Donald J. Trump, Tribulation Trump, the man who's smarter than everyone, the best president we've ever had in the history of presidents. If they don't come see me, they can't work for you anymore. And the sad thing is that these union representatives and these leaders are so lost and so weak and so just spineless pieces of human beings that they're saying, okay, yeah, we'll definitely tell these people that we'll cut their paycheck, or if their child has a school play, or if they want to see their children go off on the first day of school, that if they don't come to the speech, they don't have a job here, which means that they can't put food in their children's mouths, or they can't put food in their mouths. They can't take care of their wives. They can't take care of their mothers. They can't take care of anyone. We're willing to do this. And the sad thing is that Trump knows how to get them. He knows how to get them. And Tribulation Trump voters have become so enraptured and captured in this man's slimy web of lies and deception that they're willing to do anything to ensure that he gets 4 more years. 4 more years for him to send the economy down. 4 more years for him to rip more children from their families at the border, for him to deport more people, for him to tear apart the fabric of American society that their founding fathers and their forefathers fought so hard to give them. They're so willing to see the fabric of America ripped apart that they are no better than Obama supporters. Yeah, I said it. It's coming from me, a 21-year-old, Generation Z. It's coming from me. Obama began ripping apart America's fabric, the society of America's fabric, and Tribulation Trump is doing nothing more than continuing to set the torch and light it on fire. And we've become a country that myself, I don't recognize. And I know you don't recognize it. But the thing is that you all are so wrapped up in the possibility of, oh, Obama was our first black president and Trump is going to set the record straight because we had a black man in for 8 years. He needs to be there for 8 years. You're all trying to swing the pendulum. And what you're really doing is burning down America. So much so that when we used to think of ourselves as one of the greatest superpowers in the world, we are now about number 3 on the list. And all because we've sold our souls to LGBTQ people, we sold our souls to Russia, to a whole lot of other ideas and ideologies that we ourselves do not believe in, or we ourselves used to hate. Do you know how angry it makes me that the same people whose parents or who themselves fought in the multiple proxy wars during the Cold War, or who fought in World War II, are now turning around and supporting a man who thinks that Putin is greater than our institutions. He thinks Putin is greater and smarter than the CIA and the FBI. They think that because Donald Trump and Putin are best friends that we're safe, not knowing that we're in more danger now than we've been in a while. And it's really painful to think about. It's painful to see. And it's painful. It's just, it strikes a whole bunch of pain in me. And knowing that in my youth, learning about the Cold War and learning about everything that we wanted to protect America from anarchy, from totalitarianism, from all of that, that we have continued to roll on this chain of saying that the USA is great, the USA is great, for us to look back and basically spit on America is absolutely insane to me. Absolutely insane. And either the only person who can fix this problem, only entity I know, is not Allah. It's only God that can fix us, that can fix this, that can right this wrong, that can right this ship to go back to righteousness. Welcome back to the Manning Report. Again, I am Gold Vestal Virgin Esther Butler, sitting in for Dr. James David Manning, and we're going to jump right back into some more news, talking about the economy now. So we're moving into some domestic and foreign issues. So CNN reports that 5 of the world's biggest economies are at risk. And I'm pretty sure you can guess that the US is a part of that. So we have the US, we have China, we have the United Kingdom, we have Germany, all these countries that have bolstered their economies over the years, especially post-World War I, post-World War II, through the Cold War, things of that nature. The US is in trouble specifically because a lot of people just aren't necessarily spending a lot of money. The money that consumers would usually spend on, getting a coffee in the morning before work, they're now making coffee at home, they're carrying it to work on the trains, they're doing little things to cut back. The good thing is that big purchases now, like I would say in New York City, especially Metro cards or ride-sharing apps as Lyft, Uber, things like that, is kind of balancing out the weakness from other consumer spending. So I guess you could say that's a bit of, a silver lining. The issue is that Tribulation Trump can't keep his mouth closed. And he's putting tariffs on China, continuous tariffs on China. And I don't think that he realizes, and I don't think because he doesn't read, and he doesn't listen to the people in his camp. So he doesn't know that, 1, China owns 99.9% of our debt. That's 1. 2, everything in America is made in China, people. So if you're putting tariffs on China, that slows down the production and the amount of goods that we import from them, which means that our economy makes just makes a decline down. And we're sitting here thinking about all the things that, we all think about, the bills that we have to pay, or we think about, the college debt that we're in, that's me, or we're thinking about all of these things that we have to deal with, and then we're looking at Tribulation Trump, but he's just making it worse. Also, we have to also look at the United Kingdom. They're still fighting over Brexit. They're trying to figure out if they're going to push it through. I mean, they just inaugurated a new prime minister, Boris Johnson. So the United Kingdom right now is in free fall. And if the United Kingdom is in free fall, most of the world's other superpowers, China excluded, as they are new superpower rising, we're in trouble. Because if the United Kingdom falls, especially because a lot of foreign entities no longer believe in the United States. I mean, Tribulation Trump is our president. Right now, they're trying to get all their ducks in the row. So if it's time for them to move away from the United States and separate and be totally, singularly removed from us, as Tribulation Trump is trying to move us into isolationism, they need to make sure that they can survive without us, without importing, without having us as a backup plan. So when Donald Trump says things about, when he goes to the G8 or the G20 summits and he says all these world leaders are, they're not as smart as me, or they're dumb, or we can't trust them, they're not pulling their weight, they're not paying what they need to pay us, or he's sitting there like a little boy with his arms crossed because he's scared and insecure, he's making it 10 times worse for all of us, for farmers, for co-workers, for steel workers, for union workers, for Fortune 500 companies, for Silicon Valley, for teachers. And that's why it is so important that right now, everybody needs to get their money together, put it aside, pay off what they can pay off. And I will also say that you should invest in the ministry. Invest in ATLAH, because you know, at least you'll know that your money is going towards children and making sure that children are being educated, children are being fed, teachers are being taken care of. Everything that you want politicians and presidents to do. I mean, I'm pretty sure that we've all read, Republican or Democrat, independent, doesn't really matter, but we've all heard about the new rollout plans for Senator Kamala Harris and Senator Elizabeth Warren saying that we're going to take care of teachers, we're going to take care of teachers. Well, why not invest your money and join in where you actually know that the Honorable James David Manning will take care of teachers, will take care of children, will make sure that children and students are going to school, to college, to universities, getting into Fordham, getting into Yale, getting to Adelphi, getting to New York University. Invest. I mean, I like to see my money. I like my money to be where I can see it. Normally for me, that means my shoe closet. You know, I like to have nice shoes, like to have nice clothes, I like to have makeup and things like that. So why not invest your money where you know that pastor's not going to put it in his pocket and go buy a private plane or a private jet. He's not going to, you know, go on a vacation. Everywhere pastor goes, for the most part, he takes a group of people with him. He's going to multiple countries. So I'd say that instead of trying to pull your money out of the stock market or investing money into the stock market, thinking that's going to save you when it all goes down and we hit recession, I say send your gifts to the church. Mail your gifts. We only have snail mail right now, so you can mail your gifts to P.O. Box 2423, ATLAH, New York, zip code 127. Do that because you'll know and you'll be able to trust that your money is going towards things that, one, you care about, and two, you can see and rely on and depend on. People say that the children are our future. Why not bring your money to the church and invest it in children? We have so many different things happening here. We have schools, we have, Minister Matos's Taekwondo. We have all these different things that are happening. Why not invest here instead of investing in the stock market? Because it's going to fall apart. And when it falls apart, guess what? You can't mail them a refund check saying, hey, I lost X, Y, and Z amount of money and I need it back. That's not going to work. So I'm going to stay with the economy, but I'm going to take a bit of a switch. Earlier today in the broadcast, I said that Trump knows that he's in trouble. And Trump in 2016 ran on the platform like, I'm going to bolster the economy. I'll make sure that the economy is always good. I'll make sure that the economy will never fail. Like, we'll have tons of jobs. We'll have tons of money. We'll make all of these other countries that we work with pay us our money. We'll make them do this. We'll make them do that. Well, guess what? Dow dropped 800 points last week. It's going down. It's on a slow incline up, but guess what? What goes up must come down. He is in so much trouble with the economy that he doesn't even he's fighting off. He has all of his goons in the White House saying, oh, tell them that it's okay. I know it dropped 800 points, but don't pay attention to that. That's the fake news media telling them that it dropped 800. Maybe it dropped only 500. Maybe it only dropped 300 or whatever. This is what I know. This is what I know. John King did an excellent piece yesterday morning on his Inside Politics show. And I'm going to play a clip from that, and then I'll be right back with some more remarks.
Economy growing for more than a decade now, suddenly at risk of stalling, even tipping into recession. There is no guarantee of that, but there are plenty of warning signs. Let's take a look. This past week, if you hadn't heard it before, you may have heard the term inverted yield curve. What does that mean? It costs more to borrow long-term than short-term. That's backwards. And when that happens, you see it happening here this past week. You see it happening here in 2007, the last time it happened, and go back through history. When it happens, recession's normally around the corner. That's why many people in the markets and many economists say it is possible, not definite, but possible the U.S. economy is headed toward a recession. That is one indicator. Because of that, we had a roller coaster week on Wall Street. down because of trade concerns, up a little bit after those appeared to be ameliorated some. Then this was inverted yield curve day, 800 points the market lost. Then modest gains to end the week, a volatile week in the financial markets, which we know many of you watch, and of course the president watches very closely. Some of this is beyond the control of any American president or the U.S. economy. The German and the UK economies contracted in quarter two, a warning sign they could be headed into recession. There's the possibility of a no-deal Brexit. That has the world worried about what's going to happen there. And Chinese industrial production at a 17-year low, the world's second largest economy, slowing down in part because of the trade war. Here at home, economic signals a bit more mixed. In the second quarter, consumer spending was up. Consumer spending is a huge piece of the American economy, and the Trump administration says this is proof to them there's not really a recession threat ahead. But business investment dropped in the second quarter. That is a potential sign of trouble, and the University of Michigan's barometer of consumer sentiment dropped 6.4%. This, to many people, suggests if consumers are getting nervous and this turns around, that could be a trouble sign ahead. So if you've been through this before, jobs are lost in recessions. Businesses die. Investments tank. Home values plummet. And voters get cranky. The last time we had a one-term president, George H.W. Bush, he could not convince voters a relatively mild recession was over. And it was. So how worried is the current president? Well, he blinked and hit the pause button on his escalating trade war with China. That was Tuesday, even before that most alarming warning, the inverted yield curve of potential trouble ahead.
We're doing this for Christmas season, just in case some of the tariffs would have an impact on U.S. customers, which so far they've had virtually none. But just in case they might have an impact on people, what we've done is we've delayed it so that they won't be relevant for the Christmas shopping season.
Okay, so you heard John King. He pretty much laid it out, straight out. He talked about what could happen, what might happen, what's going to happen, what we can look forward to, or what we can see that's going to happen once recession actually does take place. It may not, but right now we're looking at a recession, and the idea that Donald Trump is sitting there again, as always, lying to the American public and saying, oh, a lot of the economists are saying we don't have to worry about that. Don't worry, these tariffs won't affect you. These tariffs won't affect anyone. We won't have an issue, you won't have an issue buying gifts for Christmas, or you won't have an issue, putting food on your table a couple months from now. We all know that this is a lie. Past studies have shown us that the direction that we're going in is one that's going to lead us straight down to recession. Specifically because, one, America doesn't always pay her bills. Okay. But also the fact that Trump is so dangerous, the fact that the market leans on Trump so much. Trump right now could say, I like the way the word recession sounds, and the market could drop drastically, because we have to understand that countries are looking at, while we're not a superpower, at least not in my eyes anymore, and at least not in a lot of other people's, American citizens' eyes, but countries still look to us to see, well, what is America going to do? If this happens, can we count on America? Will America come around this way? If we have an idiot in the White House who is literally saying, okay, well, I'm not going to read this, or I know what I'm doing. Like, come on. Trump promised the American people that he would run the country like he runs his businesses. And where are his businesses now? 9 out of 10 of them are bankrupt. And then the last one is only still surviving because he uses the tax dollars of the American people. Yeah, you out there, all of y'all who, voted for Trump because he's going to give us America back and he's going to do this for me and that. He's using your money to stay at Mar-a-Lago and to help other celebrities that he knows, all of his friends, stay at Mar-a-Lago. And guess who gets the check? He does. He's cashing in. And every time I think about people with Donald Trump and his businesses, I think of President Jimmy Carter, who sold his grandfather's peanut farm so it wouldn't look like he had other interests other than that business of the American people. Now, I'm not lauding any of these other presidents as masterful or wonderful presidents, but you have to think of the ethics that is combined with being the president of the United States. A president's ethical stance on so many issues affects our economy in so many ways, because the economy is only going to go if they think that our president is strong and can lead us, the economy will be, yes, we can do this. But if Donald Trump, which he already is starting to lean this way and lean that way and sway like a palm tree on a beach on a very windy day, the economy is like, I have to get out of this. Let's go down and let's go into economic freefall. And what happens then? We lose jobs, people lose money, people lose houses, they're forced to foreclose on their houses, they can't make their mortgage payments. And this is a continuous thing that happens. It happened in 2008, it'll happen again. This is what I'm saying. It's very interesting to see the idea and the dynamic that Trump has as the executive branch with Congress and the Senate. He doesn't understand that, hey, I need these people, no matter how we disagree politically. It's like, partisanship aside, some things we'll just have to work on to agree on so that the American people is straight. But the thing about Donald Trump is that Donald Trump and all of his goons and all of his people and everybody who works for him, they only think about themselves. And the interesting thing about Donald Trump is that Donald Trump has tied all of the Republican senators who stick with him through everything. He's tied all of them up in ways by employing their wives and employing their children and employing all these other people, so much so that if impeachment does follow through and Nadler is primed up and ready to go after it, if it happens, all of people like, Senator McConnell or Lindsey Graham, all of the people that they are involved with, that they themselves have involved themselves with Donald Trump, fall down at the same time. And that's why I'm saying now it is important that impeachment is done right. I understand that everybody's really, really annoyed with Representative Nancy Pelosi, and we have issues with how she's handling impeachment. And yes, I too want to start the inquiry. But we also have to pay attention that Nancy D'Alessandro Pelosi from Baltimore understands how this game works. And when you're dealing with mobsters like Trump, no matter how much of an idiot mobster he is, okay? No matter how much, we have to pay attention that we need to reach and dig through these webs in order for impeachment to go through and in order for us to take down the entire administration. Because I understand everybody is like, Donald Trump is also awful, but Mike Pence is no better. And that's who we need to really be paying attention to. So I'm saying now, if you really, really want to get into a deep idea about what impeachment means for the country, what Tribulation Trump means for the country, what he means for the economy, what he means for our foreign affairs abroad, everything that he does, where he tweets at leaders saying that, they're incompetent, or he tweets at the people he's supposed to be working with, the representatives that have been democratically elected. When we're thinking about how he deals with these people and how he continuously pokes at them and fights at them and the name calling and all of that is just a level of immaturity that I don't think the American public has seen ever. So I'm saying now, and I am appealing to you right now to pay attention, open your eyes, stop thinking about, oh, well, he won't be that bad, or, I voted for Donald Trump because I refused to vote for Hillary Clinton or for Bernie Sanders. Like, we need to think about the dynamic that this has set forward for years and we have to think about what this means for our country, what this means for the balance of our lives, what this means for, environmental changes, what this means, because Trump is an absolute idiot. He knows nothing. He reads nothing. He tells everybody he knows, oh, I don't read, which I find is abhorrent, because if you do not read, how do you know? How do you know anything? He literally just thinks of ideas and is like, this makes sense. Let's keep going. And I think that now, Tribulation Trump voters, people who voted for him in 2016, they know that they're in trouble, that America's in trouble, that they're looking at their bills and they're figuring out like, hey, this tax cut didn't work for me. You know, I'm still paying an exorbitant amount, but, you know, my boss or a rich neighbor of mine is just like making all this money. Like they're finally starting to realize. But at this point, it's just too late. It's too late now. You've done so much damage that cannot be undone. You've broken apart the fabric of America. You've broken apart your integrity. You've compromised yourself, your ethics, your livelihood, your being for a man who, one, is racist, is a white supremacist, and who cares nothing about you, but only cares about how he appears, how he wants to be rich, or how he wants to, you know, make sure everybody knows his name. And I think for you to have done that makes you the worst kind of human being. The worst. So we're going to get into a clip from the Honorable James David Manning that we're going to play. And after that, I'll be back with some closing remarks. So let's listen to that clip.
You're listening to The Manning Report with your host, James David Manning, the news behind the headlines.
I got an email. I get emails regularly from David Koss. You get an email from David? I don't know if you do. If you're on his email list, maybe you get on this list. I'm trying to get him to come on the Manning Report. But he sent out this email the other day. It said the subject was, hello, feel manipulated yet? Well, if I didn't vote for Trump, we would have gotten the hill to beast. A lot of people say that, right? That, you know, we should have, that if I don't vote for, we don't want, we got the lesser of two evils, so we took Trump rather than Hillary, right? That's what a lot of people say. So David Koss raised the question, said, do you feel manipulated yet that you got him? But here's what he writes. He said, hello, you did get the beast, but of another color. All right, and I've said you got, in my subject matter here, that Tribulation Trump is Hillary with little hands. But watch this. Beast number one, the hill to beast, was the open, filthy, perverted, immoral, progressive liberal. And everybody agrees with that, or at least everybody with any kind of observation of what's going on knows that about Hillary, right? But watch it. He said beast number two, Trump, was the same thing as beast number one all his life, but said he was against beast one and took on the verbiage of the conservative right to the nth degree. And people ate it up by the tons, these rednecks did. They had been set up to do so by everything Beast 1 stood for, which was everything Beast 2, who is Trump. Beast 1 is Hillary, Beast 2 is Trump, stood for all his life. And now said that he was against. All right, this is prolific writing, I think. Let's make America great again. How? By portraying oneself as a patriotic conservative. Then when the emotional hype has gripped the minds of the conservative right till all objective reasoning have been completely lost, wave the homosexual transvestite flag and promote this abominable death style, David writes. Why isn't Isn't that beast number one stuff? I mean, no kidding. Do you really think that those in control had turned the reins over to a real God-fearing Jesus Christ promoting Christians? Hello? Feel manipulated yet? Trump's idea of making America great again follows the pattern of the godless, ruthless men who ruled dynasties back in the late 1900s and early 20th century. The Vanderbilts, by the way, Gloria Vanderbilt has just died. We got a news flash that she has just kicked the bucket at 95 years of age. Gloria Vanderbilt is also Anderson Cooper's mama. You remember Vanderbilt jeans and Vanderbilt. She just kicked the bucket just a few minutes ago. Anyway, So the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, J.P. Morgan, these ruthless criminals who stopped at nothing to destroy all who opposed them. Men of reprobate minds who never could be trusted. Trump idolized these men. And it goes on, has a video. I'm going to read this one more time because what David Cost does in this is he says that primarily, so you didn't want Hillary because she was all these things. But Trump's been all these things that Hillary was all his life. They went to each other's weddings and marriages. They supported one another. I'm going to read it just one more time, because I'm trying to figure out, don't people realize that Trump is the same as Hillary? Let's read it one more time. Beast number one, Hilda Beast is what he calls her, was the open, filthy, perverted, immoral, progressive liberal. Beast number two, Trump, was the same thing as beast number one all his life, but said he was against beast one and took up the verbiage of the conservative right to the nth degree. And the people ate it up by the tons. They had been set up to do so by everything beast one stood for, which was everything beast two stood for all his life, and now said he was against. I mean, it is absolutely incredible that people cannot see, that the Trump supporter can't see, that Trump and Hillary are the same people. Trump's been this way in New York all of his life. But he realized, and I guess you could call it con man or call the people who support Trump just plain flat out stupid. Trump don't believe in none of that conservative verbiage, all that conservative talk, that the conservative. Trump don't believe in all that, but he realized that if he talk that talk like a con man, tell you what you want to hear, make you feel good, and deliver on none of it. Trump doesn't believe any of that stuff that these people that support him, you get the idea. And you wonder what on earth is going on. Why? I mean, you got the Southern Baptists, the evangelicals. I mean, you better not say anything against Trump in the Southern Baptist Church here. David raises a question. Did you really think that those in control had turned the reins over to a real God-fearing, Jesus-promoting Christian? That Trump was a Christian. That got to be out your mind. Some idiot out in Iowa said the other day, well, if we want to, we know Trump we know about his past and we know who he is and all of that. Yeah, we know. But listen, let's say this, we'll tell you this. If we wanted a preacher, we would have voted. We know he ain't no preacher, but we want somebody who can shake things up. If we wanted a preacher, we would have voted for a preacher. So, but we accept him as he is. So that's saying, here's this idiot, right? This white man, idiot, saying you accept Trump lies. He's told over 10,000 lies. We accept the fact that he's put in power by Russia. We accept that. We accept the power that the fact that he obstructs justice. We accept that. We accept the fact that anybody who comes anywhere near him, their lives are ruined. Everybody from Secretary of State Rex Tillerson to Sean Spicer to John Kelly to James Mattis to H.R. McMaster to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, that nobody can stay around this fool any length of time, that he's a lunatic. So you say you didn't want a preacher, but you accept all of that. I mean, the stuff that comes out of these people, it's a tribulation, I tell you. And I know these people, God privileged me to be able to run with these people that love Trump. I slept in their homes. I ate at their tables. I went to their parties. I performed their weddings. I danced at their weddings. I went to their events. I went to their churches. I spoke at their events. I mean, I ran with these church people for 8 years. I know them. I know them. I know who they are. I know them personally. Got 1 million of them in my email. I know these people that support Trump, that say we don't care that he's not a preacher. We don't care that he lies. We don't care that he obstructs justice. We don't care that he colludes with Russia. We don't care that he never said anything bad about Vladimir Putin. We don't care that everybody around him can't stand him. Everybody calls him dumb as a rock. Everybody says he's unfit. We don't care that Mitt Romney says he's unfit. We don't care that everybody now in America and their brother calls him a liar. We don't care. We want him. These white people. I know them. I mean, I ran with them. And they love him. And Trump is worse than Hillary. They both believe Trump has been a New York con man, casino owner, coochie grabbing liar all of his life. He ain't no conservative. He's been that way all his life, but ran a con game. He told you what you wanted to hear. He didn't believe in that stuff he was telling you. Then he wrapped himself in the homosexual flag. To get them, he actually they're talking about a great con man. I got to give it to him. Trump conned the LGBT crowd. He conned them. He conned them, told Bruce Jenner you can use any bathroom you want, wrapped the flag around him at the convention. He conned the LGBT crowd. Don't a con man. But the LGBT crowd, they done peeped this whole card. And wait until the rednecks, the white folk, the Japheth people find out. But I look at this man and I say to myself, I know these people. And yet, this liar, Trump, he ain't never been no conservative. He ain't one now. He don't believe in all that stuff, them rednecks, coal miners and dirt farmers and pig farmers. Trump don't believe in no pig farmer, dirt farmer, coal miner, redneck. Trump don't believe none of that nonsense. Well, it's not nonsense, it isn't that, pardon me. But Trump don't believe that. But he said he did, so he get their vote. And now that they see that he's a liar, still won't turn him loose. Absolutely incredible. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting rather than have...
Okay, so we're back with the Manning Report. I am Gold Vestal Virgin Esther Butler again, sitting in for Dr. James David Manning. And I just want to say, support the ministry. We are now you've seen the fruits of our labor. You've seen the fruits of pastor's labor, how he's taken students and put them or has inspired them to continue their education, go into master's programs, go into different schools to major in different things. We have doctors coming up, we have engineers coming up, we have architects coming up, we have businessmen coming up. This is the vision of ATLAH, just straight out. It's where you can see it. You can no longer say, oh, he's just talking that talk, or he just wants people to contribute to the ministry. No, he's using what people give, and he's building up world leaders and ambassadors, and he's continuing to push out people who will take the vision of ATLAH, who will take on different positions in power, and who will actually help the world instead of trying to help themselves. I would say definitely don't forget to send in your gifts by snail mail to P.O. Box 2423, ATLAH, New York, zip code 10027. I would say, please help us out. You wouldn't go to a restaurant, get fed, and not pay for your meal afterwards. And if you do that, then you're stealing. So I would say support the ministry, support the pastor. I pray that pastor is having a fantastic vacation, and I pray that anyone else who is on vacation will remain safe. And until next time, peace out.